My name is Aaron Wells, and today I want to tell you how my idea of family shattered the moment my son arrived, 11 weeks too soon. I once thought the scariest sound in the world was the hiss of hospital machines keeping him alive. I was wrong. The real fear came from silence, the silence of people I believed would stand beside us. Before we begin, take a second to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your one message keeps stories like this alive. When Caleb was born early, I sent one desperate note through our Family Circle app. We're in the neonatal unit. Keep us in your thoughts. Minutes later, my aunt posted vacation photos from Pacific Shores. Nobody came. Not my father, not my cousins, not the ones who preached that family was everything. 3 weeks later, I sat alone in the staff canteen, halfway through a cold sandwich, when my handset buzzed with 62 missed calls and one message from my brother Noah. Answer. This is bad. I did, and that moment changed everything. But before that night, life had seemed almost calm. Each dawn, I'd lace my running shoes and head down Maplewood Trail, mist curling through the trees. My doctor had warned me to keep stress low for Lydia's sake, so I carried a blue logbook, tracking every mile, heartbeat, and breath. It gave me the illusion that I could control what was coming. At our small apartment in North Brookdale, Lydia waited at the kitchen table, pale yet stubbornly hopeful. 3 miscarriages had left deep scars, but she still smiled when I placed eggs and toast before her. On the fridge hung a sonogram printout labeled Caleb. I looked at it every morning, dreaming of a full-term baby in our arms. To share that hope, I updated the family app with Caleb's photo and typed, "Everything's good so far." Replies dripped in, a thumbs up from Dad, a polite "that's nice" from Natalie Brooks, silence from most. Then Denise Harper dropped a link about high-risk pregnancies after 30, with a neat little comment. "I hope you're ready for complications." It hit like gravel in my chest. Sunday gatherings at Dad's house near Meadowridge were always landmines. He'd sip bourbon and remind me that freelancing as an independent design consultant wasn't a real career. Natalie smiled like a spectator. Denise bragged that her cousin's daughter had a disciplined pregnancy. Only Ruth Collins tried to soften it, saying, "Every child finds their own moment." I swallowed my anger. Silence, I'd learned, was survival. That night, Lydia and I created our red rules. No extra stress, 8 hours of sleep, every medical note written down. I logged her blood pressure and vitamins beside my running stats. Control kept fear from breaking us. Later, I called Noah in River Point. "When she goes into labor," he said, "I'll be on the next flight." He was the only one who asked about due dates or names, the only one who didn't change the subject. Before bed, I touched the sonogram and whispered, "Hold on a little longer, buddy." Then my handset buzzed again. Denise. Mothers need discipline, not sentiment. My jaw locked. I pressed the power button until the screen went dark. At 2:45 a.m., Lydia's breathing turned ragged. She whispered, "My back won't stop hurting." When I switched on the lamp, I saw a faint pink stain on the sheet. Panic surged, but I kept my voice steady. Contractions 10 minutes apart. Then 6. "Grab the bag," I said. The drive to Ridgeview Medical Center blurred in streaks of traffic lights and her shallow breaths. In triage, care staff clipped sensors to her belly. Magnesium sulfate, steroids for Caleb's lungs. Every number flashed across the monitor. I logged them all, pretending data could slow the clock. "If we can't stop this," the doctor said, "we'll need an emergency C-section." "Sign here." My signature trembled on the form. Lydia shut her eyes, fighting tears. I stepped into the hall and opened the family app. "Caleb may come early. We're in neonatal intake. Keep us in your thoughts." I attached a photo of our hands intertwined, medical tubing snaking around her wrist. The replies came fast, at least technically. A prayer hands emoji from Dad. "You've got this," from Natalie. That was all. The monitor beeped again. I slipped the handset into my pocket and returned to her side, whispering the only promise I could still control. "You're safe. I've got you." Lydia needed me, not digital symbols. But an hour later, when I checked the Family Circle app, Denise Harper had uploaded 5 new pictures. Cocktails on Azure Bay, sunlight spilling through palm trees, captioned, "Aloha." The weather's perfect. Cousins filled the comments with hearts and jokes. Not one word about Caleb, not one. Then something colder hit. On Friend Circle, Denise had replied, under a relative's post, "We're managing as best we can. Everything's under control with the baby." She spoke like she was our spokesperson, like our story belonged to her. Inside the neonatal unit, Lydia's contractions slowed slightly. I held her hand, whispering, "You're safe. I've got you." But deep down, something broke. This wasn't just about medicine anymore. It was about who got to tell our truth. Near midnight, the attending physician returned. "If the fluid keeps leaking, we'll need to deliver." I nodded, squeezing her hand until our knuckles went white. My handset buzzed again. Denise had updated the family chat's headline, "Weekly updates by Denise." My chest burned. I shoved the phone in my pocket and kissed Lydia's forehead. Control was slipping, but not without a fight. Moments later, the hallway turned into a blur of motion as they wheeled her toward surgery. I walked beside the gurney until a nurse stopped me at the swinging doors, handing me scrubs and a mask. Inside smelled of antiseptic and cold steel. I sat behind the curtain, gripping her trembling hand as metal clinked on trays. The pressure of each movement made her wince, and then silence. No cry, only the low voices of the neonatal team. "He's breathing, but he needs support," the doctor said. The words were meant to comfort me, but they carved a hollow in my chest. Through a curtain gap, I saw the tiniest shape I'd ever imagined. Caleb, barely 2 pounds, his skin thin as paper. The team moved quickly under the harsh lights, placing him inside a neonatal chamber. His chest rose only because a machine insisted it should. I fumbled for my handset and took one photo, Caleb's hand gripping my fingertip, smaller than a coin. I sent it straight into the group chat. "Caleb, 28 weeks. Betrayal. On the ventilator. Keep us in your thoughts." The image sat beneath the old banner of his sonogram, the one that used to symbolize hope. Hours blurred into the rhythm of machines. Hannah, a nurse with gentle eyes, showed me how to scrub up to my elbows until the skin burned. Victor, the night nurse, explained the care routine, care cycles, temperature checks, and skin-to-skin contact. When Caleb finally stabilized, I recorded everything in the blue logbook, even when my hands trembled from exhaustion. Soon, I could tell which alarm was harmless and which meant danger. I waited for someone, anyone, to call. 10 minutes, 30, an hour, nothing. I left Noah a voicemail, my voice unsteady. "He's here. He's fighting. Call me." I stared through the glass until my vision blurred. Then my stomach dropped. Denise had posted a Snapfeed story. "Just visited the neonatal unit. He's strong for a preemie boy." Above it was my photo, Caleb's hand, cropped tight so the hospital tag vanished. She'd erased the truth and replaced it with her presence. My fingers went cold. She hadn't even stepped inside Ridgeview Medical Center, yet she was already rewriting our story for likes. I tried calling Dad. It rang once, then went to voicemail. Notifications silenced. That line, "Do not disturb," had felt deliberate. The distance between us was no longer a misunderstanding. It was a choice. At 2:40 a.m., Hannah touched my shoulder. "You can reach through and let him feel your hand." I slid my fingers through the chamber port. Caleb's tiny ones closed around mine, barely a grip, but strong enough to hold me there. The handset buzzed again. Noah calling. I didn't look away from my son as I whispered, "Everything they're saying out there isn't real." Not anymore. Days blurred under fluorescent light. Each morning at 8, I sat beside the incubator, jotting every number, weight, oxygen level, feeding volume. 2 pounds 3 became 2 pounds 8. Every ounce was a miracle. Between care cycles, I read children's books aloud, my voice shaky but steady enough for him to hear. Outside this room, life had narrowed to a single heartbeat. Inside it, strangers became family. Sarah with her twins, Monica with her son, who had Down syndrome, Jessica, whose baby's heart fought for rhythm. "We're your family here," Sarah once said. I smiled, grateful but aching. It wasn't supposed to be strangers filling the silence. Late at night, when Lydia finally slept in the family rest area, I scrolled through my feed and froze. Dad and Natalie Brooks smiling at a local theatre concert, while Caleb's monitor kept beeping behind me, while my son fought for every breath 2 floors below. Denise Harper filled social media with smiling cousins and clinking wine glasses at the countryside cabin. Their laughter froze inside filtered photos, while Caleb's chest rose and fell beneath a ventilator. I switched off my handset and watched the neonatal unit monitors instead. At least the numbers told me the truth. That night Noah called. His voice was tight. I talked to Dad. He thinks you and Lydia are fine, that you don't want visitors. Denise told him you said so. My throat locked. She said what? She swore she's been visiting, said you're too stressed to talk. I almost laughed, but it came out like a choke. Dad's never even stepped in here, Noah. The next morning, he texted a screenshot from another family circle thread, one I'd never seen. There was the photo I'd taken of Caleb's tiny hand, posted under Denise's name. Snapped this during my visit. He's such a fighter. Hundreds of hearts. Dozens of comments about her devotion. None knew she'd stolen every update from me. I asked Hannah at the reception counter if Denise had visited. She checked the list. No Denise Harper here. Only you and your wife? Her certainty cut deep. Everyone believed Denise had been sitting where I sat, while I'd been alone the whole time. That night, I stared at Dad's contact. A grey "Do Not Disturb" line glowed beneath his name. It said enough. I opened the chat and typed, 2 visitor slots open. Anyone who wants to see Caleb is welcome. 10 minutes, 30 an hour, nothing. The blinking cursor felt louder than the machines. I pressed the phone face down and leaned against the neonatal chamber. The hum of equipment filled the silence until it hurt. Morning came calm and deceptive. Caleb had crossed 3 pounds, a victory every parent in the neonatal unit waits for. Dr. Lang smiled. If this progress holds, he could have his first sponge bath by the weekend. For a heartbeat, the alarms sounded like lullabies. I thought of calling Lydia, but the handset buzzed before I could. 62 missed calls, 28 texts, 9 voicemails. Mostly Noah. Aaron, where have you been? Ruth Collins was in a car accident. Everyone's at Valley Heights Hospital asking why you didn't show. What? I've been here all day. I haven't left Ridgeview. Denise told them you asked her to take over, that you're burned out, that she's bringing food and sitting with the baby. The cafeteria spun around me. She said that? She showed Dad pictures of Caleb, the ones you sent. She said she took them. I stared out the window where families moved through the corridor, normal life carrying on. Inside, everything froze. She's rewriting my life, I whispered. There's another group chat, Noah said. I'll find it. But Dad believes you banned visitors because the neonatal unit reminds you of Mom. I swallowed hard. I never said that, I know. She did. My chest burned. I listened to Noah breathe on the line. 2 brothers tangled in the same lie. A new Snapfeed post flashed across my screen. Taking care of our little fighter is exhausting, but so worth it. A cropped photo of a crib, the hospital tag blurred out. To anyone scrolling, it looked like she was there. I turned toward the incubator where Caleb slept under the warm light, his pulse steady at 152. They're building a story where I don't exist, I whispered through the glass. But I'm here. I'm not leaving. Then Noah's call came again, urgent. They're all meeting tonight at Valley Heights, in Ruth's room. I'll FaceTime you in, be ready. It's going to get ugly. By dawn, the lies had faces. Noah sent screenshots from a secret chat named Family Care Updates. Denise was the admin. Every post was mine. Rewritten. Caleb was strong during care time today. I stayed late so Aaron could rest. He asked me to handle the updates, since he's overwhelmed. That word, overwhelmed, hammered again and again, turning me from a father into a ghost. Scrolling felt like falling. The same photos, the same captions, only her name above them. Then my handset rang. Noah, calling from Valley Heights. Behind him came the hum of machines and scraping chairs. Dad just told me Denise said you banned him from visiting because seeing the unit reminded you of Mom. He believes her. My voice wavered. Noah, I never said that. I know. But she's got everyone convinced. For a long moment I couldn't speak. The monitors hummed. Caleb's breathing steadied. She hadn't just taken our updates. She had taken me out of my own story, and somewhere in another hospital room. My family was gathering to decide which version of me they would keep. The next morning, I walked straight to the reception counter of the neonatal unit, my blue logbook clutched in one hand. Hannah, the nurse, looked up from her charting. "Can I ask something?" I said quietly. "Has a woman named Denise Harper ever signed in to see my son?" She scanned the visitor list and shook her head. "No one by that name. Only you and Lydia Wells." Her tone was steady, official, but the confirmation hit like a weight. The lies had spread further than I'd imagined. That evening, Lydia sat curled in a chair inside the family rest area, hair pulled up loosely, dark circles shadowing her eyes. "Do you think they'll believe us?" she whispered. "Or will they think Denise looks more together?" Her voice wavered on the last word. I crouched beside her and took her hand. "They'll know the truth, Lydia. I'll make sure they do." But Denise didn't slow down. That night, another post appeared in Family Care Updates, a photo of a premature baby with plumper cheeks than Caleb's, the oxygen tube barely visible. "Finally got to hold him today." Strongest little nephew, my stomach turned. I knew that photo. It was a stock image from the neonatal parent circle I'd once joined. She was counting on no one noticing. Minutes later, a message blinked from a cousin. "Hey," Denise said, "you're too stressed for visitors." Is that true? "We just don't want to intrude." I read it 3 times. Each repetition dug deeper. She wasn't only pretending to be present. She was rewriting who I was. A father too fragile to trust with his own story. Then Noah called. "They're all meeting tonight at Valley Heights Hospital in Ruth's room. Dad, Natalie, half the cousins. Denise is leading it. I told them I'd patch you in. Be ready." I looked at Caleb through the glass. His tiny hand twitched, curling like a fist. "Tonight," I whispered, "you'll see your father fight for the truth." When the screen lit up, a wall of faces filled it. Dad sitting stiff beside Natalie. Cousins crowding the foot of Ruth's bed. Rachel and Ben whispering near the corner. In the center sat Denise Harper, arms crossed. Expression composed like a judge. I angled the laptop so Caleb's neonatal chamber glowed behind me. Monitors beeping softly. "This is my son," I began, voice unsteady but firm. "Caleb Wells, 5 weeks old. He's still fighting for every breath, and none of you have been here." Silence. Then Rachel pressed a hand to her mouth. "He's so tiny," she whispered. Dad leaned closer, eyes wet in a way I hadn't seen since childhood. Then Denise spoke, calm as ever. "I've been there plenty of times," she said. "Every time I showed up, Aaron was asleep." I didn't want to disturb him. Anger burned through my chest. "That's a lie. Ridgeview logs every visitor. Your name was never on it. The pictures you posted were mine. And the photo of you holding him? That's a stock image." Dad turned toward her, confusion spreading. "Denise, you told me?" She cut him off, voice cool and measured. "He asked me to handle updates. He said it was too much." I shook my head. "Dad, I wanted you there. You never called. You believed her instead." The air in the hospital room thickened. Ruth, frail on her pillow, began to cry. "I almost died last week," she said. "All I wanted was peace. But peace doesn't come from lies." I lifted the blue logbook toward the camera. Pages fluttering under the fluorescent light. Every entry, every ounce he gained. Every care cycle, every visitor is in here. And the official log matches it. No one but Lydia and I have signed in. From the far corner, Rachel's voice cut sharp. Denise told me the neonatal unit was full. She said there were no slots left. The room erupted, shocked whispers, shifting chairs. Dad slammed his palm on the bedside table, startling Natalie. "You stole my chance to see my grandson!" He roared. For the first time, Denise's mask cracked. "I was protecting this family from chaos," she snapped. "Aaron thrives on drama. He makes himself the victim." Her words struck hard but couldn't shake me. "I don't need belief," I said. "I just need facts. Check the neonatal unit log. It's all there. From today on, only those who show up in person respectfully belong in Caleb's life." She ended the call. Shouting still echoed through the speaker, but I set the device down and looked through the glass. Caleb's hand flexed as if answering. The next morning, I walked to the unit coordinator's desk and filled out the paperwork myself. 4 authorized visitors. Aaron, Lydia, Noah, and Thomas Wells. No Denise. No exceptions. My hand trembled as I signed, but peace settled slowly in my chest. 2 days later, Noah arrived straight from the airport, suitcase still at his side. Hannah helped him gown up, and when he slipped his hands into the incubator, Caleb's tiny fingers curled around his. Tears streaked down Noah's cheeks. "He's real," he whispered. "He's beautiful." I took a photo, not for friend circle, not for likes, but for our own family album. Later that week, Dad and Natalie walked in. For the first time, I saw my father at the sink, scrubbing his hands up to the elbows like a rookie, eyes misted with regret. And for the first time, the story of our family began to shift, from lies told online to truth written in ink and love. Dad stood beside the neonatal chamber, his voice unsteady as he read aloud a children's book about bears. Each word trembled, but the sound filled the sterile air like music. Natalie Brooks folded the tiny preemie clothes she'd brought, arranging them neatly by size. Their faces carried guilt, but also something new, real presence. They were finally here. Then came Denise Harper. She appeared at the entrance, clutching a giant plush rabbit, voice pitched to draw every head in the lobby. "I'm his aunt. I have a right to see him." Security called me down. I met her by the reception counter, pulse racing, but my voice was calm. "You don't have that right anymore, Denise. You lost it the moment you lied." She scoffed, her eyes flicking toward the guard. "The family will turn on you." "Just wait. The family isn't yours to control," I said quietly. "They get to decide for themselves." "You don't." Her expression hardened, then she turned and stormed off, leaving the stuffed rabbit abandoned on the bench. That night, my inbox pinged, a long message from her, drenched in self-pity, blaming me for dividing the family. I read it once and deleted it without replying. Over the next few days, messages trickled in from cousins. "We're sorry, Aaron. We believed her too easily. We didn't know you were alone that whole time." Their words didn't erase the hurt, but they mattered. Later, Ruth Collins called from her hospital bed. "Denise was jealous of your mother for years," she said. "She just found a new way to lash out. Don't let her ruin what you've built with Lydia and Caleb." The hardest moment came when Dad sat across from me in the family rest area, elbows on his knees. "I used to keep my distance," he said quietly. "You reminded me too much of your mother. Denise used that against me. But seeing you here, fighting for your son, you're stronger than I ever gave you credit for." His eyes shone, and for the first time I believed him. That night I slipped my hand through the incubator's opening. Caleb's fingers curled tight around mine. I wasn't clawing for permission anymore. I was a father drawing the line, clear and unshakable. Denise might return someday, but I knew now I wouldn't face her alone. A week later, sunlight streamed through Ruth's sitting room, spilling gold across the carpet. For the first time in months, our family met outside hospital walls. The room buzzed with fragile relief. Ruth, still bandaged, sat propped in a recliner while Rachel and Ben adjusted her pillows. Lydia and I stepped in quietly. Caleb stayed home with a care staff nurse, but I carried his photo in my pocket like armor. Everyone smiled when they saw us. Ruth's voice was soft but steady. "I didn't think I'd live to see this day. I'm glad you came." For the first time, the warmth felt genuine. Cousins hugged us. Natalie handed Lydia a plate of food before she even sat. Even Dad's eyes softened when they met mine. At one point, Rachel leaned closer. "When can we meet Caleb in person?" "When he's strong enough," I said. "And when I know everyone around him shows up with more than words. It has to be earned through presence." That was when I saw Denise at the edge of the kitchen, hovering, waiting. She approached with that familiar smile that never reached her eyes. "Well, thank God it's all over now," she said lightly. "The baby's fine. You're fine. We can move past it." I set my plate down. "No, Denise, it's not over. You lied to the family, stole photos of my son, and left us alone while pretending to be here." Her eyebrows rose. "I did it to protect everyone from the drama. You know how you can be." I took a step closer, my voice steady. "Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when the doors are closed. That wasn't you." The room fell silent until Ruth spoke from her chair. "Denise, I can't forgive what you did. I kept quiet before to keep peace, but peace built on lies isn't peace at all." Murmurs rippled across the room. Ben spoke next. "You told us Aaron didn't want us there. We believed you. Now we know." The cracks in Denise's composure widened. She slammed her glass of wine on the counter, face flushed. "Fine. Believe whatever story you want. I tried to hold this family together, but you'll regret pushing me out." She stormed out, leaving the plush rabbit slumped in the corner, just as she'd left it at the hospital. Silence lingered, heavy but cleansing. Ruth sighed, relief softening her shoulders. I lifted my phone and showed Caleb's latest photo, eyes closed, wrapped in a blanket, small but thriving. "This is my son," I said quietly. "And these are the people who choose to stand beside us, not just watch from afar." Applause rose, soft, sincere, and healing. For the first time in months, the air felt light again. 1 week later, the day finally came. Caleb weighed 5 lb2 Oz, strong enough to breathe without machines. Hannah met us at the door with discharge papers and a proud smile. "You've learned everything you need. Aaron, trust yourself, you're ready." I held Caleb against my chest, feeling his breath warm my shirt. For the first time since the night he was born, the world opened instead of closing in. Lydia slipped her hand into mine as we walked through the doors of Ridgeview Medical Center one last time. The beeping faded behind us, each step a crossing, from fear into life. When we reached our Brookdale flat, Noah was waiting by the door. And this time, our family didn't need proof. We were already whole. When Aaron Wells stepped into the nursery, soft yellow lights glowed across the ceiling. Noah had strung them earlier that day, the warmth filling the quiet room like a promise. On the dresser, neatly folded preemie clothes waited. In the fridge, meals prepared by Thomas Wells and Natalie Brooks stood labeled and stacked. No speeches, no grand gestures, just quiet action. The kind of love Aaron had begged for months ago. He laid Caleb gently into the crib, the golden light tracing a halo around his tiny face. Lydia leaned close, pressing her forehead to his. "We finally made it home," she whispered. Aaron opened his laptop to a video call. Ruth Collins appeared, smiling through a cast-covered arm. He looked strong. "Aaron, you did good." Flowers from the neonatal parent circle arrived that afternoon, bursts of color far brighter than any filtered family post online. When the house quieted and Caleb slept, Aaron looked around at the circle that had stayed, Noah resting on the couch, Thomas setting down groceries, Natalie folding blankets, and Lydia dozing beside the crib. These were the ones who had shown up, not with words, but with presence. These were the ones who had earned the word family. In the stillness, Thomas's voice broke the hush. "Son," he said softly, "I'm proud of how you protected them." "I should have told you that a long time ago." Aaron's throat tightened, but he nodded. The words he'd waited his whole life to hear finally landed like medicine. He sat by Caleb's crib. The blue logbook lay closed beside it, its pages full of numbers, prayers, and proof of survival. Aaron whispered, "You'll grow up knowing family isn't guaranteed. It's chosen, it's proven, and it's worth fighting for. You were loved from the start, and no one will ever rewrite your story but us." Caleb's chest rose and fell in rhythm with the soft hum of life outside their window. For the first time, peace didn't feel borrowed. It was theirs. Aaron thought back to those endless nights at Ridgeview Medical Center, the cold sandwiches, the unanswered messages, the lies that made him a ghost in his own story. He realized now it had never been just about surviving the neonatal unit. It was about learning who truly stands beside you when everything falls apart. Some people, he learned, build their love in appearances. Others prove it in silence, in small acts that speak louder than apologies. The neonatal unit had been his battlefield, his classroom and his confessional. He learned to measure hope in ounces, to read alarms as a kind of language, and to find courage in the faint grip of a 5-week-old hand. In Lydia's quiet strength, he found love tempered by endurance. In Noah's late-night calls, he found loyalty that distance could never weaken. And in Thomas's long overdue words, he found healing that outlived the hurt. Denise Harper's betrayal would always linger, but it no longer owned him. What defined him now was Caleb's steady breathing, the warm glow of home, and the knowledge that truth doesn't need to shout, it simply endures. Aaron looked once more at his son, the golden light resting softly on his face. For months he had begged his family to see him. Now he understood. The ones who truly mattered had been there all along. He smiled, a quiet gratitude settling over him. "We're home, little one," he whispered. "And this time, no one gets to tell our story but us." The screen faded to black, but his voice lingered, gentle, reflective, and real. "If my story reached you tonight, let me know you're out there. Drop a simple hi in the comments, or tell me where you're watching from. You'd be surprised how much a few words can mean to someone still fighting in silence. And if this story touched your heart, subscribe. It helps every parent like me know their story matters. Do. And with that, the lights in the nursery dimmed, leaving behind only the quiet rhythm of Caleb's breathing, the sound of a life reclaimed and a family redefined.